I was already halfway through my second drink when the bartender gave me that awkward look like he wasn't sure if he should offer me another or ask if I was good. But I wasn't good. I hadn't been for a while, and I was getting really tired of pretending otherwise. The place was loud, packed with noise and fake laughter, the kind of bar where people go to forget things or pretend they have nothing to forget. I was supposed to be meeting her there. She had insisted on it, said we needed to reconnect in public, around friends, because we'd both been so busy. Her word, not mine. Busy. Like it was some neutral state of being. As if it hadn't started to feel like she was making herself busy just to not be around me. But I went anyway. I wanted to believe she meant it. She was late. An hour late. And when she finally showed up, it wasn't just the timing that punched me in the gut. It was how she arrived. Laughing. Not with me. With him. This guy I had seen around twice. He worked with her, or so I was told. Not even a coworker. Just someone who hung around the edges of her office's social circle. His name had never mattered to me before, but in that moment, it landed in my brain like a disease I couldn't scrub out. She didn't see me right away. She was too caught up in whatever joke he was whispering into her ear like they were the only people in the room. Her body leaned toward him in a way I hadn't felt her lean toward me in months. And when she did spot me, finally, there was no guilt, no apology. Just a sharp flick of her eyes, a shift in posture, and a grin like I'd walked in on her mid-performance. She came over like nothing was wrong, called me babe, kissed my cheek too close to my ear so she wouldn't have to look me in the face. I tried to act normal. I tried. But everything in me was screaming that this wasn't what love looked like. This wasn't even what casual indifference looked like. This was mockery with a smile. It didn't take long before things unraveled. We joined a few mutual friends at a table. She kept disappearing for stretches. Bathroom, cigarette, talking to people she hadn't seen in ages. And each time that guy was missing too. Everyone noticed. No one said anything. It was the kind of silence that tastes metallic, thick with awareness no one wants to acknowledge. I made the mistake of asking about it, quietly trying not to cause a scene. I leaned in and said, "Are you seriously going to keep pretending this is normal?" She blinked at me like I had just spoken in another language. Then, in front of everyone, our friends, strangers, the guy still hovering nearby, she rolled her eyes, stood up and said, "If you're going to be insecure all night, maybe you shouldn't have come." Just like that. Loud enough for heads to turn. Loud enough to make me feel like a piece of chewed gum under her shoe. And then she left the table. With him. Left me sitting there like an idiot, clutching my untouched drink, heart pounding in my ears, while our friends gave me the kind of looks people give when they're not sure if they should say something or pretend it didn't happen. She didn't come back. I stayed for another hour, pretending like I wasn't calculating how long it would take to pack my stuff and leave. I smiled, nodded when people talked, but inside something cold was expanding, devouring every memory I had of her that used to feel warm. And then, just as I was getting into my car, she called me. Her voice was syrupy, like nothing had happened. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You know I still love you, right?" I stared at the screen, listening to her breathe on the other end like she hadn't just humiliated me in front of a room full of people who used to believe we were solid. I didn't say a word. I just hung up. And that's when I realized this wasn't just an affair or a phase. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. Not a single minute. I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling like it had answers. Her side of the bed was untouched, still perfectly made, like a placeholder for a version of her that no longer existed. I didn't even know where she'd gone after the bar. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. My imagination did the work for me, painting pictures I'll never be able to erase. At 6:12 a.m., I stood in the kitchen pouring coffee I didn't want when the front door opened. Quiet. Like she thought I might still be asleep. She came in like a thief, keys in one hand, heels in the other, makeup smeared just enough to suggest carelessness, not exhaustion. She froze when she saw me. We locked eyes. Her expression barely changed. No guilt. No shame. Just this flicker. Like irritation that she got caught in a game she didn't even think I was playing. I asked one question. Just one. "Were you with him?" She didn't flinch. She just set her shoes down on the mat, walked past me, and said, "You're being dramatic again." I swear something inside me snapped right there. Dramatic? I said. You dragged me to that bar, embarrassed me in front of everyone, disappeared with that clown, and I'm dramatic? She turned then. Full body. No pretending. You made a scene. I didn't say a single thing. I barked. She stepped closer. Exactly. You sat there sulking like a kicked puppy, making everyone uncomfortable. You want me to lie and say I didn't have more fun with him than with you. And just like that, the air left the room. I should have walked away. I should have taken my keys and gone and let the silence do the talking. But I didn't. I pushed. You had fun with him. While I sat there wondering when the woman I married turned into someone I don't even recognize. She didn't soften. Didn't cry. She laughed. A short, cold laugh like I was the punchline to a joke she'd been telling behind my back for months. I got tired of babysitting your ego, she said. Tired of pretending you were enough. It didn't even feel like a knife to the heart. It was worse. It was slow acid. And then she added the cherry on top. Don't pretend you haven't felt it, too. We've been dead for months. You're just too scared to admit it. I stared at her like she was a stranger who had broken into my house wearing my wife's face. Something in me shut down. I nodded once. Didn't trust myself to say anything else. And I walked out. Not to leave permanently, just to breathe. To not explode. I went to a park near our place, sat on a bench and watched the sun rise while the ghost of her voice echoed in my skull. You're just too scared to admit it. I wasn't scared. I was furious. Because she didn't even try to deny it. She wanted me to know. She wanted me to hurt. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. This wasn't her falling out of love. This was her punishing me for still being in it. I didn't go home that day. I drove aimlessly for hours, circling through old neighborhoods, past places that used to mean something, where we had our first apartment, the cheap burger spot we used to hit after work, even the crumbling movie theater where we'd once sat in the back row and shared popcorn like teenagers. All of them felt like ruins now. Silent witnesses to a life that no longer belonged to me. Around 3 p.m., I parked in front of my brother's place and just sat in the car. He eventually spotted me from his window and came outside without saying a word. I must have looked like hell. He didn't ask questions. Just opened the door and said, "Come in." I told him everything. Not because I needed advice, but because saying it out loud made it real. And he just listened. Didn't interrupt, didn't offer those cliché comfort lines people throw around when they don't know what else to say. Just silence and understanding. That meant more than anything. When I finally went back home that night, her car was gone. And when I walked in, the place was exactly how I'd left it. Her jacket was still on the chair, her glass of wine half finished on the counter. I stared at that glass for a long time. It felt like a monument to her carelessness. Then my phone buzzed. It was her. No apology. No explanation. Just a text that read, "We need to talk later. Don't do anything stupid. Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry." Just a warning, like she thought I was going to blow up our lives without permission. I ignored it. 2 hours later, she came back. I heard the car, the door, the keys hitting the bowl, and then her voice. Light, casual, fake. "Hey, you eat." I turned to face her, calm. Too calm. "No," I said. "I was too busy trying to figure out if you're in love with him." She didn't hesitate. "I'm not." I studied her face. Blank. Neutral. But her eyes gave her away, restless, darting. "I don't believe you." She crossed her arms, leaning against the wall like she had the upper hand. "You believe what you want." "No," I said slowly. "I believe what your actions keep screaming at me. You brought him into our life. You invited me to that bar just to parade him in front of me. You left with him. You let me sit there and rot while you went and played house." Her lips curled. Not in a smile, more like disgust. "You're so dramatic. You think everything revolves around you. Maybe I just needed a break from being your emotional support pet." My fists clenched, but I didn't move. I wasn't going to give her the meltdown she clearly wanted. "So what now?" I asked. "You get to disrespect me, humiliate me, and I just sleep next to you like nothing happened?" She rolled her eyes. "You don't have to do anything. But I'm not going to keep apologizing for wanting to feel alive. Alive? I repeated. You feel alive sneaking around with someone you don't even respect? She walked past me to the kitchen. At least he listens. That was it. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Where are you going now? She asked, not bothering to follow. To find the version of myself that wouldn't have stayed this long. And I left. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was war with silence. And I was finally suiting up. I stayed at a hotel that night, nothing fancy, just a room with walls that didn't echo her voice back at me. I lay in bed with the TV on mute, staring at the ceiling, but not because I was sleepless. I was thinking, calculating, digging through memories like files in a locked cabinet, looking for the moment I stopped being a husband and became an obstacle in her life. And then it hit me, I'd been watching her lie for months. It wasn't always obvious. It was in the way she asked questions she didn't care about the answers to. The way she smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. How her hugs had started to feel like obligations instead of instinct. There had been hundreds of tiny lies, each one brushing past me like a stranger on the sidewalk, and I let them all walk by. But now I wanted the truth. The real one. So the next day I made moves. Not emotional ones, strategic. I needed information, not closure. I called in a favor from someone I knew at her workplace. Casual chat, just enough to confirm what I suspected. She hadn't been putting in extra hours like she claimed. In fact, she'd left early 3 times last week. Must be a new routine, my friend had said. She always leaves with that tall guy. They seem pretty close. I didn't ask his name. I didn't need to. Instead, I thanked him, hung up, and called a locksmith. By the time she got home that evening, her key didn't work. I watched from the window as she tried it once, twice, then banged on the door. She looked around like she wasn't sure if it was real, then pulled out her phone. It rang in my pocket. I didn't answer. I opened the door slowly, just enough for her to see me. What the hell is this? She snapped. New rules, I said. You changed the locks? Yep. You're insane. Maybe. But at least I'm not a liar. She scoffed like I was being petty. You think this makes you the good guy? What, you want to punish me now? No, I said. I want distance. Clarity. You want to live like I don't matter? Fine. But you don't get the benefits of my loyalty while you treat me like a backup plan. She tried to shove the door open. I didn't move. You're seriously doing this? She asked. I just stared. I'll call the police. Do it. The house is in my name. I'll be glad to explain why you were locked out after you ditched your husband for some office groupie. That shut her up. For the first time in weeks, she looked uncertain. Where am I supposed to go? She said, quieter now. Try his place. I closed the door. She didn't knock again. That night, I slept better than I had in months. It wasn't peace. Not yet. But it was the first breath of control after drowning in her chaos. 2 days passed, and I didn't hear from her. Not a single call, not a single text. You'd think she'd be banging down the door, begging for forgiveness, or at least trying to twist the narrative into something where she's the victim. But no, nothing. I wasn't sure if it was her pride or her new toy keeping her occupied. Probably both. I spent those 2 days in the house reorganizing everything. Not in the traditional sense. I wasn't folding towels and alphabetizing spice racks. I was erasing her. I went through drawers, shelves, closets, anything she had touched, anything she had claimed as hers, and boxed it up. Perfumes, framed photos. The fake succulent on the bathroom counter, she said, added vibe. Her favorite mug. The robe she left on the hook. All of it went into a pile in the garage, waiting to be someone else's problem. That was when I found the old phone. An old iPhone she hadn't used in years. Buried in the back of a drawer with dead battery and dust on the screen. At first, I almost tossed it. But something told me to charge it. Just to see. And that was when the cracks I thought I'd already fallen through suddenly turned into a sinkhole. It booted up after 20 minutes. No passcode. She probably forgot it even existed. But the messages hadn't forgotten. Especially the ones still sitting in her iMessage thread with a contact saved as M. I didn't recognize the number. But I didn't have to. The messages read like confessions. Not just recent ones, this went back months. He doesn't even notice anymore. You make me feel like myself again. Can't wait till this weekend. I'll tell him I'm going to Rachel's. He said he loves me last night and I wanted to throw up. Dozens of them. I read until my hands were shaking, until my brain felt like it was crawling with static. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal, it was the ease of it. How casual she was. How proud of her deceit she seemed. Like she was playing both sides of her life and enjoying the performance. She even sent a picture. One she'd taken in our house. Wearing the shirt I bought her last Christmas. Sitting on our kitchen counter, legs crossed, tongue out, with a caption that read, "Wish you were here instead of him." I dropped the phone like it burned me. My heart wasn't broken anymore. It was numb, hollowed out, the kind of cold you don't come back from. I left the house for a few hours after that. Just drove. Not to calm down, not to cry. I had passed that stage. I needed space from the fury. I needed to stop myself from smashing things. That night, just as I was settling into the quiet again, my phone buzzed. It was her. No apology. No checking in. Just, "I'm coming by tomorrow to pick up some stuff. Don't make it a thing." She thought she was still in control. She thought this was going to be clean, civil, convenient. But what she didn't know was that tomorrow, when she walked into that house, she wouldn't be picking up her stuff. She'd be picking up her reality check. She showed up at 11:13 a.m. exactly when she said she would. I watched her through the window as she stepped out of her car, sunglasses on, hair tied up like she was heading to a casual brunch instead of the wreckage she'd left behind. She didn't look nervous. Not hesitant. Just bored. Like I was an errand she had to run before getting back to her new double life. She walked in without knocking. Bold. Brazen. She scanned the room like she was checking the lighting in a hotel suite. "So, where's my stuff?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Just stared at her, letting the silence do what words couldn't. Her eyes finally met mine, and for the first time I saw it: uncertainty. The smallest crack in that smug armor she always wore like a second skin. "In the garage," I said finally. "Everything that still belongs to you is in those boxes." She rolled her eyes like she was being inconvenienced. "Wow, you're really dramatic about this." "Am I?" She moved past me without responding, heading straight to the garage door. She stopped cold when she opened it. 6 boxes. Each labeled. Taped shut. Not shoved into a corner like afterthoughts. Displayed. Lined up. Like an exhibit. She turned slowly. "You really packed up everything," she said. "Like you actually took the time?" I stepped forward. "I found your old phone," I said. Her mouth twitched. "You're not even gonna ask what I saw?" I added. She didn't blink. "It's none of your business." That was the moment. The exact second I felt something irreversible click into place. "You made it my business the minute you brought him into our house. The minute you sat on our kitchen counter and took pictures for him. The minute you turned me into a bystander in my own life." She scoffed. "You're acting like I murdered someone." "No," I said, calmer than I thought possible. "You just buried the person you pretended to love." She moved toward the boxes, ignoring me now. Like retreating into her task would erase the confrontation. But I wasn't done. "Was it ever real?" I asked. She froze, hand on the top box. "What?" "All of it. Us. Was any of it real for you? Or was I just the placeholder until someone more exciting came along?" She turned slowly, and this time she looked different. The fight wasn't in her eyes anymore. Just fatigue. A crack. Something broken she tried too long to pretend wasn't. "You were safe," she said finally. I needed safe. And then I didn't. I stared at her like I was seeing her for the first time. No mask. No spin. Just a hollow honesty I hadn't asked for. "Do you love him?" I asked. "I don't know what I feel," she replied, and for once I believed her. I nodded once. "Well, I know what I feel. I feel done." She didn't say anything. Just stood there in a room full of boxes, surrounded by the debris of her choices. Then she turned back to the stack and lifted the first box. Walked out without another word. No apology. No fight. No guilt. Just a quiet exit. I stood in the doorway and watched her go, wondering how someone could torch a life and not even flinch. She was gone. Not just from the house, not just from the garage, but gone in that final way, the way people vanish when you realize they were already halfway out the door long before they ever walked through it. I closed the garage after she left, but I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel clarity. I felt a strange quiet. Not silence. Not peace. Just this heavy kind of stillness that settles when the noise dies but the mess is still everywhere. I didn't clean. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even sit down. I just stood in the kitchen, staring at the spot on the counter where she had taken that picture for him. I remembered every time I cooked there, every time she leaned over and stole food before it was ready. And now all I could see was that smug little pose, her tongue out, pretending she was cute for someone else while I was in the next room watching TV, probably planning dinner. How do you grieve someone who's still alive? That night, I went through my laptop, pulled up old pictures, not because I missed her, but because I needed to see the moment. The shift. The point where something changed in her eyes, in her smile, in the way she stood next to me like she wanted to be somewhere else. I scrolled through 2 years of moments that suddenly felt staged. Even our last vacation, where she had smiled like a woman in love. I remember thinking she was glowing. Now I know she was just tanning. I got a message around midnight. Not from her, from him. He didn't introduce himself. Just sent a message through a burner Instagram account. I didn't mean for any of this. She told me you two were separated. I laughed. Laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Of course she did. The classic move. Rewrite the story, sell the lie, and hope the other guy never bothers to fact-check it. I didn't reply. What was the point? I wasn't about to play the other half of her twisted theater. But then came the second message. She's been staying with me, but I don't think she's who I thought she was. And there it was. The unraveling. I stared at the screen, that message glowing in the dark like a little flare of karma. I didn't take joy in it. Not really. I wasn't built like her. But I won't lie, there was a tight satisfaction in knowing that the fantasy she sold him was already rotting. That's what she does. She builds illusions and lives in them like they're real. Until someone opens a window and the wind ruins everything. The next morning I got a text from her. Just one line, tell your little friend to stop messaging me. That was it. No context. No acknowledgement that she'd detonated our life and was now trying to micromanage the fallout. I didn't answer. She called an hour later. I let it ring. Then came the voicemail. Her voice was calm. Too calm. It was the voice she used when she was cornered but pretending she wasn't. Hey. Just wanted to clear something up. I don't know what you think you found or what story he's telling you, but it's not like that. You and I, this isn't all on me, okay? You shut down way before I ever stepped out. You stopped seeing me, loving me, and I didn't know how to tell you I felt invisible. So don't sit there acting like I'm the villain. I didn't try to hurt you. I wanted to feel alive again. She hung up. No apology. Just another excuse, gift wrapped in emotional manipulation. I deleted the voicemail. I finally understood. She wasn't calling to fix anything. She was calling to control the narrative. She was scared of what he might say. Scared that someone else finally saw the cracks. But it was too late for fear. Too late for explanations. She'd already made her move. And now it was my turn to rebuild. With or without her ghost haunting the corners. I didn't respond to her voicemail. I didn't need to. She had already said everything I needed to hear. Just not in the way she thought. It wasn't the words. It was the tone. The need behind them. She wasn't reaching out because she cared. She was reaching out because the narrative was slipping, and for the first time she couldn't steer the wheel. The second I stopped reacting, she lost her grip, and she knew it. That's when the messages started to shift. At first they were scattered. Passive-aggressive little barbs pretending to be neutral. Hope you're doing okay. You always took things so personally. If you need help getting over this, maybe therapy would be good for you. Just don't poison people against me. Okay? It's already hard enough. Then came the messages to mutual friends. I didn't even have to ask. One of them sent me screenshots. She was building her defense in real time. He's spiraling. I think he's having a breakdown. I didn't cheat, we were basically over already. He just refuses to admit it. The same woman who'd looked me dead in the eye and said she had more fun with another man than with her own husband, was now painting me as emotionally unstable, desperate, a threat. But I didn't fight it. Not publicly. I just kept collecting. Because I knew something she didn't. The more she tried to spin her version, the more she left a trail. Her need to control the story was stronger than her ability to keep it straight. And then it happened. Another message from him. The guy she'd risked everything for. I think she's been lying to both of us. I didn't reply right away. I wanted him to sit with it. Wanted her to sit with it. He messaged again the next day. She told me you hit her. That stopped me cold. I read that line over and over again, trying to make it make sense. She'd crossed a line I didn't even know she was capable of stepping over. And yet there it was. An accusation so poisonous it didn't just smear my name. It rewrote who I was. She hadn't just lied. She'd weaponized me. I picked up the phone. Not to call her, but to protect myself. I called a lawyer. Not because I wanted revenge. Because now it wasn't about heartbreak. It was about defense. I got a call the next day from another mutual friend. Someone who'd seen her in person. She's unraveling, they said. She thought you'd chase her. Now she's paranoid. Keeps asking what you're telling people. Who knows what? I said nothing. I didn't have to, because the truth was doing all the heavy lifting. Later that night, I got another message from her. Longer this time. Full of fake calm and strategic guilt. I know we're both hurting. I didn't handle things perfectly, but neither did you. Maybe we should talk like adults and not let this get ugly. I never wanted to ruin everything. But if you keep making me out to be the enemy, I'll have no choice but to defend myself. Let's not go there. Please. There it was. The please. Not love. Not remorse. Fear. She finally realized I wasn't the man she could guilt into silence anymore. And I wasn't finished. She showed up at my door 3 days later. No warning. No text. Just the knock, 3 short, deliberate taps like she still had the right to announce herself in my space. I didn't open it right away. I stood on the other side, watching the distorted shape of her through the glass panel, thinking about all the versions of her I'd known. The one who used to hum while brushing her teeth. The one who cried during documentaries. The one who looked at me like I was the whole sky. And then the version who weaponized my silence into violence. I opened the door slowly, no expression on my face. She looked different. Not tired or worn. Like someone who had finally seen the consequences of their own chaos and didn't like the taste of it. I just want to talk, she said, voice thin. No, I replied. You want to control. Her lips parted slightly, that classic look she used when she wanted to correct the record. But she didn't speak. Instead, she tried to walk past me into the house. I blocked the way. Not your home anymore. That stopped her. You're seriously doing this? She whispered. I'm still doing this, I said. You're the one late to the reality. She stepped back, arms folded, eyes scanning me like she was searching for cracks. I didn't mean what I said about you. To him. I was angry. No, I said flatly. You were strategic. Don't insult both of us. Her face twisted. He turned on me. He said you were the calm one. The reasonable one. I tilted my head. Imagine that. She stepped back again, and then I saw it, the real reason she came. Not to apologize. Not to make peace. She'd burned it all down, and now the fire had caught up to her. He's gone, she said finally. I told him I needed space, and he just disappeared. My silence was louder than anything I could have said. I thought, maybe, I don't know what I thought, she mumbled. I crossed my arms. You thought I'd be waiting, that I'd still be orbiting around you while you sampled other galaxies. That got to her. You don't have to be cruel. I'm not, I said. Cruel was what you did to me. This is just me choosing not to be your second choice. She looked down, swallowed hard. So what, that's it? You're just done. I let the silence answer. She nodded slowly, like she finally got it. And for a split second, I saw the real her. Not the manipulator, not the actress, but the person underneath. The one who made all the wrong choices because she never figured out how to be whole on her own. But that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. She turned to leave. Halfway down the path, she stopped and called out over her shoulder, You know I still love you, right? I leaned against the doorway, eyes fixed on her back. You loved your version of me, I said. The quiet one. The one who didn't call you out. That man doesn't live here anymore. She didn't respond. Didn't look back. She just walked to her car, slower than she needed to, as if dragging the moment might somehow delay the finality of it. But it was over. And this time it was me who left her standing in the wreckage. They always say time heals everything. I used to believe that meant forgetting. That with enough silence and distance, the sharp edges of betrayal would dull down into manageable scars. But now I know better. Time doesn't erase the pain. It just clears the noise so you can see it. Study it. Understand how it got there and who put it there, and more importantly, why you let it stay for so long. It's been 7 weeks. 7 weeks since she stood on that path and told me she still loved me. Like those words were currency, and I was still broke enough to take them. 7 weeks since I watched her walk away without chasing her. And in those 7 weeks, I've learned more about myself than I did in the last 7 years with her. The text stopped. The voicemails dried up. Even our mutual friends stopped trying to mediate. Once they realized she was still more focused on controlling the narrative than owning the damage. But I didn't need apologies. I didn't need closure. What I needed, what I found, was something far more valuable: accountability. Mine. I let her get away with it for longer than I care to admit. Not because I was blind, but because I wanted to believe the woman I fell in love with was still in there, buried beneath the lies and excuses. I tolerated the late nights, the dodged questions, the way she smiled at her phone but never at me. I excused the disrespect, disguised the humiliation, and called it rough patches. What a fool. But fools learn. I've changed the locks, switched my number, updated my will. Not out of spite, out of necessity, because she taught me something she never meant to: how to protect myself from her. From people like her. Last I heard, the guy she threw everything away for is gone. Blocked her, vanished, left her to sit with the wreckage she thought she could control. And maybe that's the true punishment. Not losing someone, but realizing they walked away with their dignity intact while you're still sweeping up your own lies. I don't hate her. Hate takes too much energy, and she's already taken enough. What I feel now is colder, cleaner, detachment. She doesn't get to live in my head anymore. Doesn't get to reappear in the form of a song, a smell, a memory. She's not a ghost. Ghosts haunt. She's just gone. If anyone out there is reading this, if you're where I was, fighting to hold together something that's already crumbling in someone else's hands, listen closely. You don't have to stay where love stopped living. You're allowed to walk away before it buries you. And if they ever come back saying, "You know I still love you, right?" remember, love without respect is just manipulation dressed in poetry. And you deserve better. We all do.